Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Media and Public Services Committee to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to have an adoption of the agenda. Would someone like to?
Adopt the agenda.
Support Van Sickle.
Romano makes a motion to adopt the agenda, supported by Van Sickle. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to have approval of the minutes dated November 17th, 2021. That's for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Sabatini, supported by
Support.
Song. And please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
At this time, I'd like to bring up public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation for those that wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on an item which is on today's agenda. Second opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak on any issue. We actually have some people in the crowd today. So, anyone for public participation? Seeing no one coming forth, public participation is closed, and we'll move on to item number 6, department recommendations. First item on the agenda for department recommendations is Resolution 2021-7366, approving submission of coastal grant application for the lost settlements of the Lake St. Clair in Macomb County.
Moved by Kleinfeld.
I'm sorry? Oh.
You
Kleinfeld
paused,
makes
and
a
I didn't
motion,
know if you're
supported
just
by
waiting.
Kraft.
You just kind of stopped.
And yeah, if Amanda is going to speak on this, Oparka?
Sure.
Amanda. Come on up. Thank you.
Hi there. Well, thank you for taking this up today. This is an application of some work that's been historically looked at from the county's perspective for about 20-25 years. First with the city of St. Clair Shores. Back about 3 years ago, colleague of mine in our department, Parks and Natural Resources, took this up as a request from both Harrison Township and the city of St. Clair Shores as to see if we could get any further with a project to actually find evidence of the St. Felicity mission site that was a counter mission to Gabriel Rochard's mission originally in Detroit, and we had some success. It was not on the land records, it was actually on the last will and testament of the former French ribbon farmer, where he granted the property to the mission site. So as a result, we did a initial survey with the Noble Odyssey Foundation. If you don't know about that, Pride of Michigan boat in Harrison Township, Clinton River does Great Lakes work all over the Great Lakes region, and they did one locally. And we were able to find the old several hundred-year-old shoreline that existed, which is probably the edge of where that particular property ended. So at that point, we took it on, we put some storyboards together, submitted it to the State Historical Preservation Office, in which they said go forward with the Lake St. Coastal Zone Management Grant, which is funding that comes from NOAA through the Department of Commerce, and try and get it funded for further survey work so that this information could then potentially be used to do preserve on the bottomlands of Lake St. Clair. And then there's the more known former evidence of the town of Belvedere, which was at the end of North River Road. That's historically very documented. As a matter of fact, when we had low water levels back in 2010, 11, 12, some of the building structures were actually visible from the shoreline. So we will take that up and do that as a partial survey to try and see what the condition of any of that existing settlement. 1955 was the magic year where the Lake St. Clair, or St. Clair River, our research down at Wayne State University archives indicated that the predecessors to the Army Corps of Engineers dredged the St. Lawrence Seaway for the very first time. St. Clair River opened up more water coming into Lake St. Clair, changed the water levels permanently. Well, at least until this point. They vary by 5 to 7 feet from high water mark to low water mark, but it permanently changed that whole cycle up about 3 to 4 feet. And as a result, we saw these two settlements sort of drift away into the flood waters and never come back, even though they had experienced flooding, both of them, on a regular basis. So we want to finish this work so that Macomb County has something to hold on to and a little bit of a legacy of our history and our culture and our heritage, and to also set us apart from other communities that have already done this. There's a larger push from NOAA as well to do the bathymetry, which is a bottomland survey of the entire Lake St. Clair region and all of the U.S. side of the Great Lakes. This will then be potentially used to supplement some of the work that they're doing. The reason we come to you today is because they required a resolution by the Board of Commissioners before we move forward with the application, which is due next week. We tried to get this on a November agenda. We apologize. We had some issues with what the requirements were through SHPO because they changed. And so because of that, we put it on. So I sort of feel like it's a little bit last minute, but it's better than not having it before the application is due. So, so here I am. Any questions or?
Vice Chair Song?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think this is a wonderful opportunity. My only question is, once you submit this application, are there any other candidates or organizations that are submitting for this grant? What are the chances of you actually getting it?
It's a very competitive granting agency. We have been successful in my tenure of getting 4 out of 6, which is pretty exceptional because they only fund about a quarter to a third of them on an annual basis. So I feel like our record is going pretty good so far, in the fact that we have somebody from the state of Michigan through Eagle who's part of the program, part of our team. I don't know if it'll help. It's done independently, but they certainly would love to see this go forward. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get the funding through Coastal Zone, we will find other resources for it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, good luck to you, and I'm happy to support this. Thank you, Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad you talked about these settlements. I've heard about them living in Harrison Township, but I'm not sure where they had been. Someone had suggested they were on Jefferson near Crocker somewhere. Is that where they were?
There was a third one. It was called Liver Pool, but that one was only a docking area. No, that one as a coastal area, we will survey that, but it won't have the same intensity of survey done. No, and we don't give the exact location because if there is something that's not discovered there, we don't want to put speculation on people diving and taking artifacts before we get a preserve on it. So until we get a preserve status, that's partly the other reason why we're doing this, is that we have all the substantial information that we could submit to the state of Michigan and the federal government to actually get a preserve.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chair.
I know there's a couple brothers from Michigan that are digging up Oak Island. Maybe they can use the resources. Chairman Brown?
Yeah, thank you. Macomb County does have a rich history going back to the 1600s. I mean, Father Marquette founded Detroit and Sault Ste. Marie, but in between,
Yeah.
he made it a settlement right here in our Macomb County, right along Lake St. Clair, out further in the lake than it is now. But it's really interesting history and something that is worth telling, and having something like this will help us promote another reason why Macomb County is a unique and cool place to live. So
Absolutely.
very interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Jay, for all the work you do. You know, many of you don't know because you've been on the board long, but Jerry's been our key environmental person advocating for water quality and Lake St. Clair and anything that's positive about trying to get our environment improved by. Jerry's been right at the middle of it since day one, as long as I've known him. He's a good person to have on our team. And if you have any questions about environmental issues going on, he's the go-to guy for that, and he gets the work done. He's got ideas, but he finds grants to do it with. And I know Commissioner Romano likes grants, as we all do. And so thank you, Jerry, for your good service. We're lucky to have you, and thank you.
Thank you. Just a question, is $250 for the County of Macomb? And the rest is grant money?
Yeah, there will be also in kind. So it actually comes out to be more like 5,000 or 7,000.
No, I appreciate it. My
They like to
ancestors,
see cash from the agency that applies, and it doesn't matter how much it is. So we did a nominal amount.
good. No, my ancestors were one of the founding families of the city of Fraser, so I love the history of the area. I appreciate it. Seeing no other speakers, we have a motion before the board. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. And I thank you for putting me first on the agenda of all the years I've been here. It's the first time I've ever been first, so I'm taking off. Thank
Adriana
you.
does a
Merry
great job. You
Christmas.
can thank her.
Merry Christmas.
That's right. Be nice to us or you'll be last on the agenda. Second item up, that's a joke in case you're last. Second item on the agenda B is cost share agreement, Shelby Township, Ridgeview Drive Servicing. Brian, please provide your, first of all, I'd like to have a motion to recommend to full
So
board.
moved by Nard.
Moved by Nard, support by Wallace. Thank you very much. Brian.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a standard cost share agreement for a local road as brought forward by the township to partner with them to do this segment of roadway. It is a local road, so the participation is 60% township, 40% Department of Roads. So seeking approval of cost share with Shelby Township for this Ridgeview Drive as presented in front of you.
Vice Chair Song.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, you said this is a local road, a city road, or is county?
No, the townships do not have any of their own roads. They all fall within the jurisdiction of the Department of Roads. So there are primary roads as designated, which have higher volumes. This is a local road designation, which requires a different participation, which would be 60% on the township, 40% on the roads department.
Okay, that's why there's a difference in the cost share agreement.
Yes. correct.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Chair.
welcome.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much. Item 6C, Resolution 2021-7437, authorizing Macomb County Department of Roads to purchase federal funding from Antrim County. This was an interesting program.
Yes.
Motion by Kraft,
Support by Nard.
support by Nard. Brian, please speak about it.
Yes, it is very interesting, and this is a program that was established a few years back. The only problem with it a few years back was counties were allowed to purchase federal funds from other counties within the state, but it had to be matching designation. So a lot of the counties in the northern part would want to sell their rural federal monies, and we only have a small portion of rural roads within Macomb County, so it really didn't fit our program because we got enough monies internally to have a rural program already. But then they just recently switched that to be more flexible, so you could actually purchase either urban or rural federal dollars from other counties and apply that to our urban roads in kind. And the purchase program is basically we purchase from Antrim, which we're proposing, this resolution to allow us to do that. So we purchase their federal funds that they want to sell at 80 cents on the dollar. So we're gaining that difference of 20%. We're buying at 80 cents on the dollar, so it's increasing our coffers. We already have programs that we have set up in projects in the queue that require federal funding, and we can apply that federal funding for. So some of the northern communities, there's more strings attached, there's more of a process, more paperwork involved with federal projects, that some of the northern communities don't want to have to deal with that. They want to deal with local dollars, Act 51 dollars that we can buy and give them, and then we accept the federal dollars and apply towards our federal project. So seeking approval of this resolution to purchase from Antrim County.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you. So on their end, it has to stay within roads.
Yes, yes. So it would be Act 51 dollars that they would be getting in selling their federal dollars.
So does every county get undesignated federal funds? We do a lot of projects that are, do we get a pool of undesignated federal funds that we apply to projects that we can use federal funds for? Or do we do projects where we get federal funding if we have to apply for it and we get a match? Because for them to be able to sell it is an indication it wasn't designated for anything.
No, each county gets a certain allocation of federal funds, and then each county gets an allocation of Act 51 funds, which Act 51 funds are more general in nature. You still have to apply it to, auditing and roads function and purposes, but they're less stringent as far as requirements on paperwork, environmental assessments, SHPO requirements. So there's more paperwork and approvals required with federal monies than there is with state monies, Act 51 monies. So.
Okay. Because my first response was, wow, how great are the roads out there that they can sell their road funding at pennies on the dollar.
I mean, they're still applying our money that we give to them. It's just more flexible for them to utilize. They're still using it on roads and within their
It does say a little
county.
bit about about Act 51. Thank you.
No doubt. Commissioner Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Brian, are we looking for more opportunities like this? This seems like a good scenario for us.
We sure are. We have these two as presented in front of you. We are seeking, another county to obtain funds for by a certain amount of funds in looking at utilizing this program, more so in the future, being that it is more flexible to use on urban roads versus rural.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Brian.
Jerry, thank you.
It's like a Christmas sale. Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Chair. Brian, I just want to make sure that I got it. So I'm going to use these figures. Somebody wants to sell $100,000 that they're not going to be able to use for their roads. We're going to purchase it at $100,000. We're going to give them $80,000. Where are we getting the $80,000?
It would be from our Act 51, it would be from our general fund,
From our general fund.
from the roads general fund, yes,
Okay.
correct.
Is that percentage negotiable? That 80%?
No, that's the standard pretty much throughout the county and the state, yes. It's not,
You're saying you're hesitating, so it is negotiable.
no, that is the program. It's pretty much an 80% buyback rate.
Okay, I'm going to let that slide, and I'm going to get you after the meeting, because
Okay.
it sounds like it is negotiable. So it's to our benefit to purchase at 80% for the people that don't use the money that they get from the federal government, but we're taking money that we have in our road fund to purchase that $100,000 at $80,000. Is that correct?
Yes, so we're gaining that extra 20% within our budget. Yes,
I got it. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
I'd like to go back to Commissioner Kleinfeld's question for a minute. When we get this pool of federal money, does the roads department just spend that, or is that brought to us as projects a piece at a time?
There's a bunch of designation of federal funds that come to us as a county. The bulk of it is designated and determined through the Federal Aid Committee, which is part of the TIP process. That is a program where we get monies, and we just went through, or we're just currently going through a Federal Aid Committee meeting to establish projects from 2023 to 2026. So there is basically $14 to $14.5 million of federal funding in years 24, 25, and 26 that this committee, and just to give you an example, we had submittals of 2.5 times that as far as requests. So there is a committee that's established. They score and rate all the different submittals, the top 3 priorities from each of the communities, as well as our requests, and come up with a program that stays within the confines of what we have allocated for funding. So the bulk of the federal funds that we do get is distributed for each community to look at, and with this federal aid committee to determine what projects get funded.
So the funds that are not part of the bulk, how are they allocated?
They are for projects that we see viable for predominantly primary roads. We apply a lot of that money towards our capacity roads like 23 Mile Road, our 2-lane to 5-lane widening and reconstructs that do take a significant amount of monies. You're talking a mile stretch of anywhere currently dollars, probably $7-8 million or more for a mile project of a 2-lane to 5-lane concrete widening.
Okay, so when you spend this unallocated monies, does that come before us, or is that just spent through the department?
It still falls within our budgetary confines as far as not going over. We're getting the extra 20% in our coffers as far as, we're spending, to give you an example, we're spending 80 grand to get 100 grand in Commissioner Romano's example. So we're not falling below any threshold or overspending. We're actually making good on the deal as far as purchasing this federal funds.
Oh, that isn't exactly where I was going. Projects over 35,000 come through the Board of Commissioners. This unallocated pool of money that you have in your budget, does that funds come through us also, or does that just get spent?
No, all projects that we have with any community come in front of the board as far as cost shares or projects. So, I mean, this is in front of you right now because of the nature and the size and dollar value. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Brown?
Brian, I want to thank you for the pretty resourceful. We're squeezing out any way we can to find some extra money that we need in these for roads, and extra 20% is great. I think this is the first time I've been around a while, and I think this is the first time we've ever done this. Am I not right?
That's correct. I know Oakland County has more rural roads, and they were able to take advantage the last 2 or 3 years of this program. But with the assistance of the County Road Association and discussions, with MDOT and Federal Highway, they were able to make this a more flexible program so that we could apply it to our urban roads and not just a match for match.
Well,
So,
I want to thank you because we need every dime, and this is a unique way to get an extra 20% now. It's
Thank
all
you,
good. I don't know where we can spend it, but I'll leave that to you. Thank you.
we got a lot of places we can,
Thank you.
and will.
Thank you,
Chair
Mr.
Stone.
Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, how do you determine which county doesn't want their federal dollars?
It's basically a online system where, they would, each individual county that would be looking to sell through the County Road
Okay,
Association.
so kind of like the Mitten, the bidding site.
Yes, they would
Okay.
put up, Antrim or whatever county would put up, hey, we're looking at, selling X amount of federal dollars
Okay.
through this program.
Wonderful. So my next question is regarding the actual resolution, 2021-7437. It says $335,000 estimate. So that's not like an actual amount that the road department would be purchasing? So what is that actual amount, and why does the resolution only say an estimate?
As far as that goes, it is the $335,000. That is the figure. I don't know why it says
Okay.
estimate, but that is the figure.
All right. Well, Chair, I'd like to request the resolution to be amended to remove the estimate, the word estimate, because if it is 335, then that is what it is, right? For the cost of $268,000.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Matusek. Discussion on the amendment. Is
Uh,
that
Ch-
on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Just for clarification, one of these four speaks to, there's a clarification letter that we're changing it from the dollar amount to .80 on the dollar. So I gotta find it now. It's, I think it's the other one, Allegan County. Let me see. Email regarding corrected agreement. And it says, I'm pulling it up, it's a little slow. it says that the two agreements on the agenda, the amounts of 268 and 877 are replaced with .80 on the dollar in paragraph 2 on page 2. So I don't think they're putting the dollar, I think the final version doesn't have the dollar amount in it. Is that correct?
Brian?
Do you see that? It's the fourth one, so it's the Allegan actual agreement that has that corrected one in it.
Are you
What page are we
talking-
looking at, Commissioner?
Commissioner, it's Kleinfeld, is it where it says Macomb would agree to set the rate of .80? Is that what you're looking at?
I'm looking at if you go to item E, right? No, D, E, F.
F is the agreement?
I'm looking at item F.
Okay.
So if you look at item F, the fourth document down is an email regarding corrected agreement, and it changes from dollar amount to .80 on the dollar is what it's saying. And I just assumed that was applying that to the other stuff that was in front of us, and there would not be dollar amounts in the agreements.
Well, I believe the agreements are a dollar value because we have, yeah, I mean, the
Do you
agreement
have
does.
that corrected, that email in front of you?
I do not.
Okay.
So I'm going to read out loud, correct me if it's
Go
not
ahead,
what you thought.
yes.
It's corrected agreement for agenda items from Sue Van Steelant to Crystal, Kyle, Adriana, copied Michelle Coppola. It says, please note that these two agreements replace the two agreements for Allegan and Antrim County Road Commissions on the agenda for tomorrow's public services meeting. The amounts of $268,000 and $877,000 and some change were replaced with 80 cents on the dollar in paragraph 2, page 2.
Thank you.
We'll give Brian a moment here to look.
I just took that email and applied it to everything else in front of it.
So the agreement obviously would still state that they are transferring us the full dollar value. So in F, it would be $1,096,759. And then the other paragraph, instead of the 877, it would be basically 80 cents on the dollar as far as what we would be paying for that full amount.
So that goes to Commissioner Zong's amendment. It wouldn't be needed, right?
And I'm going to defer this to Brian. You're the one that needs the proper paperwork. We don't.
I didn't know
So,
this was sent, but I will get that straightened around, but
so do we need to amend it for you?
if what Sue had sent in replace of what I have, and it just mentions, obviously, in both agreements, whether it's the $1,096,759 or the 335, as long as it mentions we're in the subsequent paragraph that we're paying 80 cents on the dollar to that, I'm good with that agreement, if that's what was resubmitted after the original.
Commissioner Song, do you want to withdraw the motion then?
I'll withdraw. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry for that,
No
I
problem.
guess, additional information that I was unaware of.
Yep, and can that be corrected by tomorrow for the
Yes.
full board? Thank you.
Sure can. Thank you.
And I believe that's all this, oh, I have a question. So if, let's say, because the way you're describing this program, I had never heard of before, it makes sense that bigger counties, us, Oakland, Wayne, Kent, have more options with our funds in smaller counties. So there's a reason for them to gain the flexibility and us to gain the discount. So do we ever compete? Let's say you and Oakland County both go to Atrium and you say, well, I got wine and cheese, they've got a hamburger, you win. I mean, how does this go?
There's not a whole lot of counties that have taken advantage of this program so far.
So far.
I know Oakland has, and they don't purchase all of the federal funds that are available. I know there's a cap on what would be allowable as a state, total-wise, to be able to sell. And we haven't approached that as counties yet. But, it is a valuable program to us to be able to, increase our coffers. We have federal projects that we do on an annual basis, and some of the northern communities just don't.
Right.
Because it's more of a burden on, like I said, paperwork process, requirements, all that
I
type
see
of
as
stuff.
an
So,
improvement on the processes of government for
Yes.
once.
So.
All right. Seeing no other speakers, we have a motion to recommend full board C and D. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. We're up on items 6E and F. I'm going to join them together. Resolution 2021-7438, authorize Macomb County Department of the Roads to purchase the funding of Allegan County, much like the last one, along with F, which is joined in with it. I'd like to have
Matuzak
a
moves.
motion by Matuzak,
Moved by Kleinfeld.
support by Wallace. Brian?
Same program, it's just with a different county. So we're seeking to purchase funds, a little larger dollar value, but once again, 80 cents on the dollar to acquire these federal funds from Allegan County. So seeking approval of the resolution and the agreement.
Black Friday arrives again. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, have a good holiday.
Now we'll get to some of the items that were added to the agenda this week. Item G, waived by the Public Safety Committee Chair, a contract with WellPath Inmate Medical Care Services for $6.3 million plus some change. Please come up and, first I'd like a motion to refer to full board. Motion by Romano, support by Nard. Please, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having me today. In front of you today, I have a one-year contract extension proposal with WellPath to provide medical and mental health services for inmates at the Macomb County Jail. The original contract with WellPath, the original contract for WellPath was for years 19, 20, and 21, with provisions for one-year contract extensions, one for 22 and one for 23. This is the proposed extension for the year 22.
Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Question for you. I know that now, like you said, we're in the extension period. Is there a reason why we did not go out to bid once those first initial 3 years were complete?
So originally, the mental health services contract went out for bid in 2015. It went out again in 2018. During both of those years, there was only one person that had bid on them. And so at this point in time, we took the opportunity to take the extension that was built into the original contract.
So this isn't directly towards you, but recently we've had a lot of things go out to bid that have only come back with one person. The next item is another one of those items. And I'm wondering, Vicki, maybe this is something with our bid process and the items we're putting on, what we're bidding out for. Are we being too precise? Are we not being open-minded enough? Because we seem to be stuck with these finite companies or people with no other option for some reason. And I know we have a ton of jails across the country, and I know this isn't the only company that provides that service to every jail. So is this something that we're looking at as a team for the future to help with this problem? Because I have a hard time sitting up here with one option and only one option. because then I don't have an option.
Correct, and at times we feel the same way. Being not sure what to do. Even if you have longer instances of timing when you bid it out, then how far do you have to go out to try to get more bidders? So yes, it is concerning to us. I can't tell you globally that there's one answer that fits all. Some contracts or proposals are that way. But that's certainly something we can look at and consider, and that we do talk about when you come back only with one. I can tell you for the 911 fiber project we brought you last week when we were going through the bids with that, I can tell you Jeff Dorowski did mention, I think we had 8 bidders on that one. I think it was 8, maybe only 5, but he said that is a lot for all different types of contracts, and that we got lucky. So I don't know if it's just industry, if it's COVID. I think a lot of entities are stretched thin by staff and a backload of projects. So that's the best I can offer.
And I understand that with the medical profession and the mental health profession especially, that, even in their contract, they mentioned too how hard it is to find staff and to pay them as well as they should be paid. So I know that is a unique situation too. I'm just looking at the broader picture of items going forward. If that's something we can look at in our processes that could help us do our jobs and, get our folks the services they need at a better cost, that would be fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Matuzak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. We've had a lot of discussion about the jail population census really falling during the pandemic and not really climbing back for a number of factors. How does that affect this contract, our lower inmate census?
Well, last year we did fall. Back on May 22nd of last year of 2020, we fell down to 266. But then our numbers did come back up, and actually we're in the mid 600s right now, but just before Thanksgiving we were back up over 700 again.
Okay.
So our numbers have come back up in the calendar year 2021. They hovered in the 500s earlier this year, but now we are seeing those numbers going back up again, and that does affect this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you. Oh, I hope that when we redo the jail intake, that has an effect on that. But with respect to this one predates the COVID situation. I think it's more inmates are litigious by nature when something happens, and there are very few companies willing to take on this type of project. Now, I don't know if it's a regional thing, if there are jails in California that have more options because there's more companies that work out there. But I don't think this particular one is COVID related. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Song.
Thank you, Chair. I have some of the same concerns as Commissioner Kraft, and I would really like to see this go out to bid. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Brown.
Thank you. John, our Corporation Counsel, got a question.
Yes, sir.
We've had some litigation over at the jail through the years, and recent one there was one involving medical care for one of our inmates. Was that employee involved with this firm? With this company?
We will always have medical-related litigation coming out of the jail. That's just something that you can't prevent.
Well, there's one that I'm thinking of one in particular that we didn't do so well on.
I'm trying to think of which one that was. The jail cases, we've been very successful. The last one that I brought to you came out of Department of Roads.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we're not using the same people that cost us once.
No, it's the same company. CCS was the follow-on provider after Corizon. Corizon was the provider up through, I believe, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Their services, quite frankly, were substandard, and they were effectively fired.
Okay.
CCS took over. They've been our provider for, I think, 3 contract cycles. Last year or the year before, CCS was purchased by WellPath, so the name has changed. All the corporate officers and everything are different. The personnel, probably a 2/3 turnover in the personnel in our site itself.
So it's different management and different personnel.
Different management, different
under
policies.
a new name.
Different services. The CCS personnel in place at the time of the switchover is probably been about a 2/3 switch over since then, and now it's WellPath hires.
So you're comfortable with this recommendation as well?
Yeah, I am actually, despite everything, despite what the media might say, and despite criticism of the operation of our jail, our facility is the size of most of the state prisons. That's why we don't get a lot of bidders, because most of the providers can't handle a facility of our size. We're pretty much limited to looking at the providers that can service a huge population base. And that population, by the way, turns over about 8 times a year. So it's not just the 1,200 beds, it's about 8,800, perhaps 9,000 per year. I think they do a fantastic job.
Okay.
They seriously do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner. I appreciate it, Captain. Thank you very much. Seeing no other questions for us, we have a motion to refer to full board. Recommend full board. Please vote.
Motion passes 10-2. Commissioners Kraft and Song voting no.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item up is 6H, contract with Spitz Pathology Group, Medical Examiner's Office, 4-year contract, $2.5 million plus change. And Director Andrew Cox, welcome.
Motion to.
Oh, yes. Motion by Nard to recommend full board. Do I have support?
Support, Van Sickle.
Support by Zinner. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you, Commissioners, and good to see you again. Good afternoon. Today, we are hoping that you will approve our contract for our medical examiner, Spitz Pathology, for a 4-year contract. This is in line with what the health code is for the appointment of the medical examiner for the county, which is required by public health code. This contract is in the amount, all 4 years total, $2.5 billion, $41,507. That is over a 4-year period. That also is encompasses hiring and bringing on a 3rd pathologist. Currently, we have Dr. Spitz and Dr. Petrangelo, great pathologists, but over the years, and they can speak to it, they're here today to speak to the number of cases, and the workload over at our medical examiner's office has also gone up. So to get the work done, they feel like they need a 3rd pathologist. To Commissioner Kraft's comment, this was the only bid for when we went out to the bid for the pathology services at the medical examiner's office. So love to answer any questions that you might have. Also, like I mentioned, Dr. Spitz and Dr. Petrangelo are here and present as well to answer any questions specifically about operations.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andrew, a couple questions for you. What's the size of the team from Dr. Spitz's side of things and the county employee side of things?
So, Dan, would you like to come up and? Sure.
He doesn't look like he wants to.
So I just want to make sure, so we have, on Spitz Pathology, they have 2 full-time employees, pathologists, Dr. Spitz and Dr. Petrangelo, plus they have additional assistants for a 3rd part-time pathologist that we'll bring in when we have heavy caseloads.
Okay. And then county employee side?
County side, what are we at, like 18?
I think we have eight investigators, an office manager, 3 autopsy assistants, and 1 clerical staff.
Okay, so about 13, so 15 to 16 total staff, including you and all that good stuff. Okay. I know, cases have gone up, things like that. I was reading an article recently that St. Clair County is looking to have you guys, your team, be the full on-site squad for investigations. If that ends up panning out and going through, is that going to affect Macomb County negatively and the time you and your team are going to spend with us? Or is just everything's so flexible with what the nature of what you do?
Sure.
I guess explain that a little bit for me.
Yeah, the St. Clair County work that I do, it really isn't changing. What they're looking to do is have medical examiner investigators. Over the years, they've used police officers, but the cost of that and the timing of that and variety of factors, they've asked me to be involved in having actual investigators that are medical examiner employees, and kind of what goes on in Macomb. So it's not the workload's not changing, my involvement's not changing, it's just that we're going to have designated medical examiner investigators as opposed to using police officers.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And then one last question, I don't know if this is for Andrew or if I have to bring Vicky back up here again, I'm sorry. In terms of the actual medical examiner head position, is there a reason why we don't have a county employee at that position in that role? I know we've had you for a while now, and I'm just curious why we don't have a county employee in that position as opposed to a contract employee.
Hello again.
Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome. No, I believe historically a lot of it has to do with the employment factor and bringing on a medical doctor and in those positions. So I think that occurs in CMH. We have discussions there. There's other doctors that have medical professionals that historically have been contracted out.
Okay, I just know other county, it's a blend of, one or the other basically. So I was just curious why we were continuing this way. It's obviously been working because we're going with the same doctor. So I was just curious. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Brown.
Thank you. Couple things on the operational side. We added some freezers over there, though. Is everything? If we had an expansion in your size of your operation over there, and you've got some additional freezers to help with there. Is all that in place? Has everything been set? How's that all working out?
The expansion of the medical examiner's office has worked out incredibly well. You're correct. The cooler space has doubled. We're having a little bit of difficulty because even though we've significantly increased our space, we're still working on getting some of the equipment that we're going to utilize in that space, like some rack storage. We have beautiful storage facility and storage spaces, but we're looking to get various racking system to be able to put our supplies on those, and I'm not sure exactly how that process has gone on. I know it went out for bid. We're looking for some additional tables because obviously if you have a bigger cooler and you have more people in those coolers, you need to have the tables to house them. So that has been going on for some time. I'm not really sure where we are with the bid process for that.
Maybe for the director, why we built a place, we built a house with all the furniture in it. What's going on?
So there's some furniture, but we need to add more, much like a lot of projects, right? And when you build them. So when this project was done, fortunately it was under budget, and we're utilizing those dollars that are under budget to furnish it with the equipment that the doctors need and the staff need over there. You'll be seeing that on the next month's board to purchase those. The bid has already been completed. We've gone and we have recommendations for that bid.
All right. How much, back to the doctor again, what's the volume? Is the volume increasing, and if so, by what percentage, or what's happening in terms of your operation, in terms of business, I guess?
Yeah, the caseload has gone up significantly over the years. I would say at least on the order of 10% per year. COVID cases have certainly resulted in part of that, but just the pandemic in general has resulted in an increasing in numbers of suicides and homicides and really all types of cases. So yes, the bottom line is the caseload has increased.
What about the opioids? Is that the opioids, the deaths in opioids? That was a major driver too in increasing caseloads. Have you seen those numbers curtail?
I'm sorry, on what
opioids, the opioids.
Opioids. No, well, those continue to be a problem. Fentanyl and heroin and also cocaine and other drugs continue to be a problem in the county. So those numbers are always high, and they continue to go higher.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. This might be on our end as opposed to on your end. We've known when this would be up since the day that we approved it years ago. Why did this have to be waived onto this committee? and come to us at the last full board of the year. If we were to say, no, we have some questions and we're still considering the contract, but we might want some answers, by law, they have to be in place January 1st. Thereby, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice to say, could you get this information? Could you do this? And we've known about this for, 4 years? So what's up with that?
Plain and simple, we can do a better job of time management. And
I will accept that and be happy with an honest answer. I appreciate that.
For your knowledge, this goes back to, I think, a little bit of Commissioner Kraft's with the bidding process. We extended the bid to see if we could get multiple bidders, and that ultimately delayed. It's not an excuse, but I'm just trying to explain a little bit of what our intent was as well. So that did push it in and rush us to get this on this committee instead of our typical committee.
Okay, and with a contract like this, I mean, we could do it in January and February and March because we already know when it's going to end. We don't have to, but I really, first of all, appreciate the honesty and appreciate your trying to get more people bidding. So thank you.
And that's nothing against our bidder, our one bidder, but it's also healthy to have, it's healthy to have, we want to be able to select the best bid, and it is frustrating when you only have constantly one bid. So we were really trying to look forward to seeing what we could get. This is a very specialized, it takes a lot of, there's not a whole lot of pathologists, forensic pathologists out there. And so it's very specialized. So we're lucky to have, Dan and Mary.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think there was a joke there, but I'm going to leave it out. But, and this is a sensitive thing, and I'm just going by what I've read. Before I came onto this board last year, but there's articles in the newspaper about issues with the medical examiner's department. Maybe you could fill us in on where things stand, because I have trouble extending a 4-year contract based on what I've read. So if I can be filled in on that.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Definitely some things in the past that, we don't want those things to occur again. And we've made steps in the right direction. We're not 100% there, but I think we've definitely made some good steps in the right direction to make sure those things don't occur again.
Is the lawsuit still active?
I believe there is. Mr. Shapka is giving the nod. Yes, there is.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no other questions before the before the board, there's a motion to recommend full board. Please vote.
Motion passes 8-4. Commissioners Kraft, Song, Farrington, and Wallace voting no.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to item 6I, Central Square Technologies One Solution Maintenance Agreement. I'd like to have a motion to recommend to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Moved by Wallace, support by Nard. Jacob, welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This request is for maintenance for One Solution. Main reason this request came so late is because we had a 5-year contract traditionally with Central Square for our financial system. That 5-year contract expires on the 31st of December. We've been working with them for probably the past 2.5 months to get this contract in place. I had to renegotiate it because, as you probably know or might know at this point in time, we are in the process, we just did an RFP to replace our ERP or financial system in the county. We will bring that in front of you probably in February this coming year in 22. But obviously with the continuance of Central Square maintenance, we couldn't sign up for a 5-year contract. So we negotiated a 2-year contract with the option to extend twice for 6 months. So all in all, we can do this for 3 more years, and then this expires. But the main reason was really because of the delays, and we only got this done very recently, and it wasn't in time for the normal committee where we were supposed to bring it to you.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Chair, my question is off topic, so if you're not comfortable when I ask it, please let me know. Jaco, is there any way that we can improve the Wi-Fi that we have here? I've been having a hard time with this device getting a spinning wheel and bring, but I have a real hard time with my personal devices. I just get nothing but a spinning wheel. And it just seems to be unusually weak or something, and I don't know if it's just our floor, but I was just wondering if there's anything on the horizon relative to that. And if you're not comfortable, Chair, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You can have Luke put in a ticket, and we'll come and take a look at it and make sure we get that fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess I'm just going to make a comment partially on this and partially on this past week. I've talked to commissioners that have been on this board longer than I. The other day we had an $800,000 item that just happened to slip by. Today we just approved a contract that we knew was expiring years ago, and yet it happens on last meeting of the year. And now this one. I think there was one other one. This is my first year, so I'm going with the flow, but I'll tell you, next year I'll be a no on every single thing that you guys do this to. There is a process, and quite honestly, I don't think they're just slipping by. I really think this is on purpose, and it's uncalled for. Vice Chair Song.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up with Chair Farrington, how many more maintenance renewals do you anticipate for this year? Is this the last one? Because I know we approved a number of them a few weeks ago.
Commissioner, we have about 150 vendors throughout the year. We do all of them. We start about 3 months before the end of the year. We start doing them, getting contracts in, renegotiating some contracts. Whenever you do this, many times people try and up the contracts, and when it goes above 3%, we reach out to them and say, we're not happy with the increase, and then we have obviously an iterative process to try and get the cost down. There's a whole process to this. And we try then and submit them at least at the last committee, which is, the previous Internal Services Committee meeting that we had. This one, I understand Commissioner Farrington's concern, but we started 2.5 months ago with this. It was a very complicated negotiations. We also have issues with the financial system. So those negotiations were going on at the same time. It was a process back and forth, and this is where we ended up.
So the issues that you mentioned, is that a software issue, or if we renew this contract, this maintenance one?
It was service issues that we had, but we
on their end.
On their
end.
And we believe at this point in time, we're happy with the contract, and the issues have been resolved. We also had another complexity, and that was upgrading our financial system, our current financial system, to a new one. That's a very, very long process.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt with getting a new ERP system in here and do that at the same time, it's going to be extremely disruptive to the county to do that. And that's another thing that we had to negotiate with them, and decided that we're going to stay on the old system until such time that we get a new system.
So just so I understand, this is going to be a 3-year agreement?
It's a 2-year agreement.
2-year
with
agreement.
The option to extend 6 months and 6 months.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Sounds like it's almost a full-time job just doing that.
It keeps us very busy, I can assure you that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Jaco.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
320,000, if we approve this, does the vendor get paid that monies now, or do they get paid 160 one year and then 160 another year? Or?
No, the 320,000 is for 2022. So we pay that beginning of next year, and then there's another 322,000 for year 2.
Okay, so this base payment basically covers 2022 and 3.
That's correct.
And in February, you're bringing forth proposal to move away from the one solution to a different vendor, whatever that might be. How long do you think it'll take to implement that?
We're still discussing that, but it will probably take the best part, if not a full 2 years, to do the implementation.
That long?
Yep, it's going to be, there's a lot of stuff in the financial system that has to be taken care of. And this system is a full ERP system, which will also be covering HR as well. So it's very well integrated system. That's what we're looking for. And, we will come and make our case in February and hopefully get that approved.
And I suppose nothing's similar, so we have to map all the data points from the one into the other?
A lot of data conversion and all that kind of stuff that needs to happen. That's partly why it takes quite a long time.
But you're pretty confident we will have it done by the end of 2024?
2024.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And sorry, Commissioner, that's why we have the 2 extensions, because obviously, these things are not exact science. So we have the option of extending, but we believe that we can get it done in about 2 years.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, actually, the end of 2023 is 2 years.
End of 2023.
Yeah, you said 24. Okay, I want to make sure.
Well, no, the 2 extensions will go to the end of
We're hoping not to
2024.
do the 2 extensions,
It'll
though.
take 2 years. It'll be February of 24.
Yeah. Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair, you've got a lot on your plate, a lot of demands from all the departments. Everyone wants it done now. On top of negotiating all these contracts, do you have people on your team that you delegate to negotiate these contracts for you?
Yes.
3 months apparently wasn't enough time to get this deal done, and maybe starting 6 months in advance might be helpful to make sure that we get them here on time.
We have project managers who also do client liaison work. So each department I assign a project manager to, and they work with the departments on all their contracts, everything that's going on in that department. And they will usually initiate those negotiations. Once they get feedback, we will look at what comes back and then make decisions on whether we need to renegotiate stuff, anything like that, and then move it forward. Myself and other management staff might get involved at some point in time, especially when it gets, really difficult. But yes, we have people assigned that do this, and they usually do a very good job and are successful, but it's not always the case.
Are they generally the team leaders for like the IT department that works the jail particularly, and the
That's
various
correct.
departments? That's how it operates?
That's correct.
Okay, so they're familiar with the system.
Yeah.
It's similar to what we're doing right now with this department. Maybe you may not know, we've been talking with IT to upgrade our service, our system that we have here. It would have been glitches in our system about, you see it as just getting not basic votes, snafus in the system not operating properly. Our system's outdated and old and needs to be updated. And we're working with the IT department, Jaco's team right now to revise a bid and go out there, and we'll be bringing that over to us after the first of the year with a revised bid to upgrade our system so we can have all the capabilities to go, and if we choose to do different things with our public participation or our ability to stream these meetings on time on a real-time basis, will greatly improve our ability to make us more accessible to the public and help with transparency as we all want. But our system's old and needs to be updated. It was the first state of its art when we bought it, but it's outdated. So we're working with his office right now to help improve that. And maybe as part of that, we'll be part of this IT to get a better network in here so that we don't have issues as we sometimes have. So stand by for that, but you know, Rome's not built in a day, and so we're gonna work to get there. And but hopefully we'll have that in place starting in the first of the year. So it's not going to be ready by the first of the year, but we're going to get those bids out and get that system in place for us here. So we're going to greatly upgrade our ability to communicate with the public, whether they're here or not. And that's going to be a real good thing, and I'm looking forward to it because it's needed. Thank you, Jaco, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to add that network, if it can be secured. 'Cause right now, we're just on a public network, and with everything that's going on, maybe that's why we're having so many computer problems up here. But that would be well warranted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, we do have a motion to recommend full board. Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. And Jaco, good luck with that because I've never seen an ERP implementation go well. Never.
Thank you, Commissioner. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. For those that haven't been through an ERP implementation, Jaco won't sleep much for the next 2 years. Next item is public participation. Seeing the room empty, we're going to pass on public participation. Not pass. We'll move on beyond public participation onto item 8, Commissioners' comments. Oh, we have a few. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For 2 meetings, we sat here and we listened to Commissioner Kleinfeld talk about the Army-Navy game and Army, Army, Army. I had a grandfather in the Army. I also had a grandfather in the Navy. My best friend was in the Navy. I was on a Navy-guided destroyer for 7 days. So I'm going to sit here with this hat from the Navy, staring her in the face for today and tomorrow, since Navy was victorious. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Kraft. In fact, I will echo your sentiments with my son being currently in the Navy, stationed in Pearl Harbor, doing the duty that we're supposed to do, and I see no other speakers. I know, I see no other speakers. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I was going to say if I seem somewhat off today, it's because I've got this Navy hat staring at me. And we were actually, towards the end of my dad's career, we were stationed on a Navy base. And my dad actually outranked the commander of that base, so that was really, and it was in Philadelphia where the Army-Navy game is played, so that was one of the most interesting experiences of my life. I just wanted to bring up, I opened up the Macomb Daily and read an article about our closed session, which was a bit of a surprise to me because the closed session was for attorney-client privilege, and it was a detailed article about what we discussed in closed session last week. Am I the only one that saw that? You guys saw that? I mean, there's only one commissioner that was quoted in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that commissioner is the one that brought it to the attention of the reporter. They could have received a phone call. I just want to reiterate to everybody, when we go into closed session, it's happened before, totally different circumstances. Actually, on television with Channel 4, 2 commissioners telling them what we had discussed in closed session, and I'm just looking at the TV going, you've got to be kidding me. Just be aware that individual commissioners don't have the authority to violate the privilege of all of us. Thank you.
Well said, Commissioner. Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
On that note, on that subject, Commissioner Howell knows well the rules of the board, and he's well aware of it. So we spoke about it previously ahead of the meeting, reminding people that certainly that needs everything stays in this board, and the private executive session stays here, including the staff and everybody else. So it is sacred. It is a sacred oath that we take, and what's said here has got to stay here. And so Well, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. Oh, on a happier note, I'll see you all tomorrow for lunch. Those of you who can come tomorrow for lunch. We're gonna have a nice Christmas lunch and have some lighthearted fun. So please come out for lunch. I've had at the meeting tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Brown. I thought these meetings were for lighthearted fun.
I try to interject humor where I can.
I'd like to ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Romano, support by, I'm sorry, who?
See you tomorrow.
Zinner. Please vote.
At the luncheon, steak and lobster.
If I'm not there, it's just because I had a previous engagement.
We won't miss you.
Motion passes 12-0.